Why do some people excel in their careers and others don't? Or what makes someone an exemplar performer? A more telling question is, what do exemplar performers do differently than average performers? I'm going to answer that last question with a story about Coach Bear Bryant. Now, this is not about football. This is a performance story. Here's some background. Bryant was the head coach at the University of Alabama from 1958 to 82. He had an astounding 232 wins, 46 losses, and 9 ties. He had 13 conference championships and 6 national titles. 6 national titles. That's like winning the spelling bee contest 6 times, in which each year the words become progressively more difficult with more competitors. He had an amazing staff. 30 of his assistant coaches went on to become head coaches themselves at the college or the professional level. He had stellar players like Broadway Joe Namath, Ken the Snake Stabler, or Ozzy the Wizard of Oz Newsome. If you don't watch football, you won't know those names. But if you listen to the Bear Bryant Show on the University of Alabama radio network, you might think Bryant's winning formula is inspire the boys, practice leadership, show them that you care, or be a great listener. A university professor, Tom, wanted to find out for himself what was the winning formula. Bryant gave Tom permission to attend the practice sessions. And what Tom discovered was not a lot of great speeches, but he did see players trained well, extremely well. I can imagine walking onto the field for the first time, Tom saying, I looked around and I saw all these movie cameras pointed at the players. And one operator might focus on the right defensive guard's foot movement, another on the center snap and ability to block. The coaches would take this film, analyze it, and go back to the players and give them regular, consistent feedback that is as positive as possible. They never criticized players for performing poorly, nor did they give praise for players who did extremely well. Instead, what they did was they told the players where their performance stood, how they were improving, and what they could do to get better. They really didn't show the players the films, but when they did, it was to show them exemplary performance. A coach might say, look at how the quarterback disguises throwing to the left. I gotta get my left or right, but looks to the right. Or see how the nickelback lines his feet, knees, and hips? That's precisely what I want you to do. It was to give players specific instructions and pointing out very minute details they wanted them to pay attention to. Now, from all this observation, Tom had 2 conclusions. First, that there's very little difference between average and exemplar performers. They pretty much do the same thing. Second, if you want to move from average to exemplar, you need to learn and consistently do those things that exemplar players or exemplar performers do that's different from average performers. Tom, by the way, is Thomas F. Gilbert, who's credited for coining the term human performance technology. Technology just being the application of science for practical purposes. He wrote a book called Human Competence, which has inspired thousands of performance experts from all around the world. What's Bryant's winning formula? Well, you might say it's 1% speech, 20% observation, and 79% feedback, both constructive and corrective. If you want to move from average to exemplar, it's possible. You just have to learn what it is that exemplars do differently. And the best way of doing that is get a business coach or a human performance coach to help you discover what are those differences and then to give you feedback on how you are doing and applying what they do.